I woke up confused in a luxurious hotel bed next to a man I'd never seen before and a diamond ring on my finger. My head spun, my heart raced, and I had no memory of what happened. That's how I met the billionaire, who would become my husband. Before I take you into the wildest, most unexpected love story of my life, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more real, messy, and beautiful love stories told by women just like me. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. I woke up to soft sheets and the gentle hum of silence. The air smelled like expensive cologne and fresh linen. For a second, I thought I was dreaming. Everything felt too perfect. The bed was bigger than anything I'd ever slept in, with silky covers and golden light pouring in through floor-to-ceiling windows. My head throbbed gently, like I'd had one too many glasses of wine, but not enough to forget everything. At least I thought so. I sat up slowly, blinking the haze out of my eyes, and that's when I saw him, a man lying next to me, shirtless, calm, breathing evenly, like this was the most normal thing in the world. I froze. My stomach flipped, heart raced, and my mind scrambled to make sense of it. Then I looked down at my hand and saw it. A ring. A big, glittering diamond on my finger. My finger! What the hell? Before I could even speak, he stirred, opened his eyes, and gave me the most relaxed smile I'd ever seen. And then, like it was no big deal, he said, "Good morning, Mrs. King." I swear I stopped breathing. What did he just call me? Let me back up for a second. Just 24 hours earlier, I was not Mrs. King. I wasn't even thinking about love, let alone marriage. I was just a heartbroken woman in Vegas, trying to forget the man who shattered me after 3 years of wasted time. My best friend, Kira, had practically dragged me out of my apartment for a healing weekend. Her words, not mine. "You need to stop crying, pack something sexy, and come with me," she said. "Vegas has a way of shaking things up." I didn't want to go, but heartbreak makes you do weird things, like wear a tiny black dress you'd usually be too shy to try on, like take tequila shots with strangers, like dance until your feet hurt and your soul feels a little lighter. By 11 p.m., I was tipsy, maybe even drunk if I'm being honest. Kira was talking to some guy in a velvet blazer who claimed to know someone throwing a private high-stakes party upstairs. "VIP only," he said, flashing a gold card that looked more like a passport to another planet. I said no at first, but then I figured, why not? One more drink wouldn't kill me. The suite was next level. Gold decor, a private bar, jazz music, and people who looked like they stepped out of Forbes magazine. I remember seeing him across the room. Tall, clean cut, navy suit, intense eyes. We talked, we laughed. I wish I could tell you what about. But after that third glass of champagne, everything gets fuzzy. My next clear memory, waking up next to a billionaire, with a wedding ring on my finger, and zero idea how I got there. He said it again, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Good morning, Mrs. King." I blinked at him, my mouth half open, heart pounding in my ears. "What did you just call me?" He sat up calm as ever, with his slow, almost amused smile. "We got married last night," he said. "Little White Chapel. You picked it." I laughed. I thought he was joking, until he reached over to the nightstand, pulled out a folded paper and handed it to me. A marriage license. My name. His name, Jackson King. A timestamp. A signature. I stared at it like it was written in another language. "This isn't real," I said, shaking my head. "This has to be fake." Then he showed me his phone. There it was, us, standing in front of a Vegas wedding chapel, me holding a tiny bouquet, him in that navy suit. I was smiling like I just won the lottery. I didn't look drunk. I looked happy. I wanted to cry, or scream, or vanish. He must have seen the panic all over my face because his voice softened. Listen, he said. We were both tipsy but not blackout. You were actually pretty funny. I think you even dared me. I don't even know you, I whispered. He nodded. Fair enough. My name's Jackson, Jackson King. That's when it hit me. Jackson King, the tech billionaire, owner of an AI company. Quiet, private, rarely seen in public, worth more than some countries. I married him. I tried to get out of bed, tried to make sense of anything. I want a divorce, I blurted out. He didn't flinch, just looked at me and said, That's fair, but what if we talked first? I was still in shock, pacing across the marble floor of the hotel suite, holding my head like that would somehow help me think clearer. The word divorce echoed in my head like a siren. I'm serious, I told him. This can't be real. It was a mistake. Jackson didn't argue. He just watched me quietly, his expression calm but unreadable. I agree, he said. It was crazy, and you don't have to stay married to me. I'll make it easy. I stopped. What does that mean? I mean, I'll take care of everything, he explained. Annulment, paperwork, no lawyers, no drama, but he held up one finger. I want to make you an offer. I folded my arms, narrowing my eyes. An offer? Give it 30 days, he said, leaning forward. No pressure, no strings. Just, let's get to know each other. Live together. See if there's anything real underneath the chaos. I almost laughed. You want me to stay married to a total stranger for a month? He nodded. If by the end of the 30 days you still want out, we'll dissolve it quietly, no fuss. But if there's something worth exploring, we'll talk again. It was ridiculous, wild, absolutely unthinkable. But here's the thing. I had nothing waiting for me back home. No job, no apartment anymore. I'd moved out after my breakup. My credit card was nearly maxed, and my heart was still in pieces. Meanwhile, I was standing in a 5-star penthouse with a man offering me 30 days of peace, comfort, and maybe closure. I hesitated. And what do you get out of this? His answer surprised me. A break from the noise, a little company, and maybe the truth. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but something in his voice made me pause. Fine, I said slowly. 30 days, no funny business. He held out his hand. Deal. I shook it, and just like that, the strangest chapter of my life officially began. 30 days with a billionaire stranger. No expectations, no rules. At least, that's what I thought. Living with Jackson King was like stepping into a new world. Everything about his life was quiet luxury, smooth, effortless, and private. His penthouse sat above the city like it didn't belong to Earth. Clean lines, warm lighting, and a view that stretched for miles. But it still felt cold, like a hotel, not a home. The first few days were awkward. We barely spoke at first. We had breakfast together, silently. He made coffee, I made toast. We passed each other in the hallway like polite coworkers. I kept my distance. He did too. I stayed in the guest room, and he never crossed that line. He was respectful. Too respectful, maybe. One night, we ordered dinner in. I sat on the couch in sweats, hair up, no makeup. He walked in from his home office, looking the same way. I think that was the first time I saw him, not the billionaire. You look comfortable, he said with a small smile. I laughed. Well, I'm not exactly dressing to impress my accidental husband. He chuckled, and for a second, I forgot how weird this all was. For the first time, we talked, really talked, about movies we liked, books we never finished, his favorite cereal as a kid, my dream of opening a bookstore cafe. He didn't talk much about his work or money. He actually listened more than he spoke. That surprised me. After that, something shifted. We started having small conversations, little smiles. I'd catch him watching me when I laughed, and I'd pretend not to notice. We weren't friends, not yet, but we weren't strangers anymore either. Something real was quietly growing between us, and I didn't know what to do with that. It was a Thursday night when I caught him in the kitchen, totally destroying a simple pasta recipe. Sauce everywhere, noodles overcooked, garlic bread burnt black. I burst out laughing. You okay there, chef? I teased, covering my mouth. He looked at me, totally unbothered, and said, I build tech empires. Cooking? Not my strong suit. I offered to help. We cooked together. Well, I cooked. He watched and stirred things like he knew what he was doing. For the first time, the walls between us started to melt. That night over dinner, he told me about his mom. She passed when I was 12, he said quietly. She raised me on her own. We had nothing, but she made it feel like we had everything. There was a softness in his voice I hadn't heard before. I felt something shift in my chest. I shared how my dad left when I was 7 and how I always felt like I had to earn love by being perfect. We sat in silence after that, not the uncomfortable kind, but the kind where you realize someone gets it. I saw something in his eyes that night. Not the billionaire, not the stranger, just a man who'd learned how to hide his pain behind power. Later, he showed me a place only he went, his rooftop garden. It was beautiful, quiet, full of wildflowers and herbs, things that made no sense together, but somehow worked. This is where I think best, he said. I understood. It reminded me of the library I'd go to as a kid, when the world felt too loud. That night, I went to bed wondering something I'd never thought before. What if this thing between us wasn't a mistake? That weekend, I left the penthouse for the first time since our deal started. My sister had a birthday brunch, and I needed some time away, clear my head, see my old world again. I thought I'd feel relieved stepping back into normal life, but it felt strange. Everything outside his place felt louder, messier. People were rushing, talking over each other, checking phones every 2 seconds. My sister kept asking questions. Where have you been? Who is this man? Are you safe? I didn't know how to explain it because honestly, I didn't understand it either. But the weirdest part, I missed him. I missed his quiet presence, his calm energy, the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching. I missed the silence that didn't feel lonely anymore. At night, I laid in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling, thinking about his rooftop garden, about how he listened, how he never once made me feel small. It hit me hard. I was starting to care, and that scared me more than waking up next to him did. What if this wasn't just about a wild night in Vegas? What if I was slowly falling for the man I married by accident? When I returned Sunday evening, the elevator doors opened, and there he was, waiting, like he'd timed it perfectly. He didn't smile big or say something dramatic. Just a simple, hey, glad you're back. And that was it. But it was enough to make my heart skip. Something had changed. I could feel it. We weren't playing pretend anymore. This was starting to feel real. And deep down, I didn't want it to end. It was late. One of those nights where the city lights twinkle just right and the silence between two people feels heavier than words. We were sitting on the rooftop again, side by side on a bench, sipping tea. I was wrapped in a blanket. He had his sleeves rolled up, eyes staring into the skyline like he was searching for something. You ever get scared? I asked out of nowhere. He looked over. All the time. That surprised me. You don't seem like it. That's the trick, he said with a soft laugh. People expect confidence, so you wear it like armor. I nodded slowly. I guess I wear sarcasm. He smiled. I like your armor. There was a long pause, the kind that makes your heart beat a little faster. I'm scared of falling, I admitted. He looked at me, his voice low. Falling in love? I shrugged. Falling for someone who won't catch me. His gaze didn't waver. I would. Just 3 words, but something shifted in the air. He didn't reach for me suddenly or lean in like in the movies. He waited, still, like he needed permission. So I gave it. I leaned forward first, and then he kissed me, slow, gentle, no rush, like he was afraid to break me. It wasn't like the wild, drunk Vegas night kiss I didn't remember. This one, I would never forget. When we pulled apart, we didn't say anything for a while, but everything had changed. That kiss didn't feel like an accident. It felt like a beginning. And for the first time since this strange journey started, I wanted more of him, of us, of whatever this was becoming. After that kiss, everything shifted, without either of us having to say a word. There were no awkward labels, no pressure, just this quiet, natural rhythm between us. We started doing more things together, morning coffee on the balcony, cooking dinner side by side, watching old movies with popcorn in mismatched bowls. The 30-day clock kept ticking, but neither of us mentioned it anymore. Not once. He started touching me more, light brushes of his hand on my back, a soft squeeze of my fingers when we walked through his garden, a kiss on the forehead when he thought I was asleep on the couch. It felt real, not the fairy tale kind, but the kind you build, piece by piece. One night I woke up to find him working late, sitting at his desk in the dim light. He looked tired, human, and my heart ached for him in a way I wasn't prepared for. I walked over and kissed him, slow, sure, like I finally understood what I wanted. That night, we made love. Not drunkenly, not accidentally. This time, I was fully present, and when I looked into his eyes, I didn't see a billionaire anymore. I saw a man who had become my friend, my partner, my safe place. Days turned into weeks. I wasn't just a guest anymore. I was part of his world. I left little things in his bathroom drawer. He stocked the fridge with my favorite snacks. He started calling me my wife, like it meant something real now. And it did, because by the time we reached day 30, I didn't want to leave. Not the penthouse, not the life, and definitely not him. It was a quiet evening, the kind where everything feels peaceful. But you know something important is about to happen. Jackson and I were curled up on the couch, a soft jazz playlist humming in the background. I was teasing him about his terrible movie taste when he suddenly went quiet. I need to tell you something, he said. I looked at him. His eyes weren't avoiding mine, but there was something heavy in them, something vulnerable. I wasn't born into this life, he began. The money, the company, all of it. It didn't come easy. He told me about his past. He'd been homeless at 17, slept in his car, ate from vending machines when he could, took online coding courses at the public library. He built his first startup from a borrowed laptop, working nights as a janitor to pay for Wi-Fi. I was stunned. I'd seen him as this polished, perfect man, untouchable, but now I saw the scars, the grit, the truth. I don't talk about this, he said softly. Most people only see the money. They treat me like a prize or a paycheck. But you didn't. That moment hit me hard because I hadn't cared about his wealth. I didn't ask for gifts or glamour. I fell for the man who burned toast, loved rooftop gardens, and listened like nobody else ever had. I love you, he said simply, not because of what happened in Vegas, but because of what's happened since. I didn't even hesitate. I love you too. And I meant every word, not for the billionaire, but for the man who rose from nothing. and somehow still knew how to love with everything he had. Exactly 33 days after our wild Vegas wedding, Jackson took me back to the rooftop garden. It was just us. No flashy lights, no tuxedo, no crowd. Just the wind in our hair and the soft scent of lavender all around us. He looked nervous, really nervous for the first time. I know we didn't do this the right way the first time, he said, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket, but I want to do it right now. He opened it, revealing the most delicate, beautiful ring I'd ever seen. Not flashy, just elegant, thoughtful. Like him. I fell in love with you by accident, he said, voice shaking just a little. But everything after that was by choice, and I want to keep choosing you every day. I could barely breathe. Yes, I whispered, tears in my eyes. I want to choose you too. We kissed under the stars, no chapel, no witnesses, just two people who had stumbled into something real. We planned a small ceremony a month later. Friends, family, music, dancing, and vows we actually remembered this time. I wore white. He wore that same navy suit. But this time, I wasn't confused. I wasn't scared. I was in love. Crazy, right? I woke up married to a stranger in Vegas, and I ended up choosing him for life. Sometimes the messiest beginnings lead to the most beautiful stories. And no, I never expected to love a billionaire. But I did. Not because of his name, not because of his money, but because of the way he saw me when I had nothing to offer but my heart. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Love can show up in the strangest ways, and sometimes what seems like a mistake is just the beginning. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe in unexpected love. And remember, never say never.